Hey everybody, welcome to Adobe Desk. My name is Brent and today we're going to be going over how to create the denim stitch text effect in Photoshop Creative Cloud. So with this you're going to be able to create some lettering with stitching around the edges, which can be really cool in creating a kind of like Letterman jacket effect or just fabric letters stitched onto a fabric background. So let's get started. Starting off, we're going to create a new Photoshop document here. I just named it Denim Stitch, and I'm going to make it 600 pixels by 600 pixels with a resolution of 300 pixels per inch. Cool. First thing I'm going to do, like always, is to duplicate the background, make the background invisible, work on this one here. Now, we're going to start off by going up to the layer level. That's what I'm looking for. Layer styles, blending options. Now here you're going to have a bunch of different layer options, things you can do with it. You're going to look for the one that's called pattern overlay. Click that, select it, and you're going to get a pattern. Now I've already got this pattern imported and set up and ready to go in my Photoshop. I'll put a link to it down below. This is actually a pattern you need to download. It's a denim style pattern. So what you need to do is go ahead and download that onto your computer, get it uploaded into Photoshop, and then once you come here, if you have the default bubble pattern, you need to go in here and just click this button here and go down to Patterns 2, and that should load this menu right here. And it's the fourth one over there. It's this blue denim material. So once you have that selected, make sure your opacity is set full to 100%, scale 100%, link with layer, sure everything looks good there. Click OK. Cool. So we have our first layer done, well, mostly done, background. So now we're going to go ahead and jump into the texting effect. Right, so I'm going to click right there and start typing, and I'm going to leave the caps on denim stitch. Okay, now obviously I got that set a little bit too high. I was playing around with some other sizes before. Let's find one that's nice and big. Yeah, that looks good there. Go ahead and do that. Then I'm going to hold Command to move. Let's see if I can get it centered there. I love that little aligning thing. That's perfect. I freaking use that every single day. Cool. Now we have this, and what we want to do is create a stitching effect around each letter, around the edges on the inside and on the outside. So we're gonna do that by starting out. We're gonna click on the actual text layer, right click or command click, however click, and we're gonna go to Create Work Path. Now what that does is it creates a line around that perfect line. Same kind of line you would get if you were to use the pen tool, but with this you don't have to mess around with the pen tool. It just does it for you automatically. So I highly recommend you remember Create Work Path. It's going to save you a lot of time in the future. Cool, so now we got that. I'm going to create a new blank layer. As you can see, we don't even need the text anymore because that line is kind of just floating there on its own, and it'll move from one layer to the next. So on a new layer, what we're going to do is we're going to create a brush effect, and we're going to fill in that line, those lines, all of the lines. We're going to start by going up to Window and Brush. Make sure you have the brush tool on the left selected so this menu will activate. Now again, I have pretty much everything preset, but you're going to have to do a little bit of work here on your own to get this set up. So to get this stitching effects, or these stitching brush patterns, what you need to do is click on the other link I have down below, and you'll be able to download these brushes to your computer, then get them into Photoshop, and you should have access to them pretty much right away. So now you're going to grab number 75, which is this V. This V is like a stitch that once you turn into a pattern should look like this, which is exactly what we want. Now, first thing you need to do though is to make sure that you have the sizing right on this menu here. 8 pixels is plenty, so whatever it comes preset at, just move it down to 8 pixels. And the spacing, 80%. Moving it up any higher, it doesn't look very good. It doesn't even connect. Moving it down any lower, it just turns into a solid line. So 80% is about the magic number. Perfect there. And the second thing you need to do here is make sure you go over to Shape Dynamics, make sure that's check marked. Turn off the size jitter, turn off the roundness jitter, but the angle jitter, make sure it's set to direction, and that's going to make the stitches kind of move along with the pattern. If not, the stitches will all be kind of moving are stitched along in the same direction, which isn't going to look right. Cool, now that we have that set, now we can actually fill in the line with the pattern. So I'm going to grab the pen tool, right click on the line, and I'm going to go to stroke path. Stroke path will say, okay, well, what kind of path you want to stroke here, buddy? So you say, I want to use the brush, because that's what we just optimized. Make sure simulate pressure is turned off, and then click OK. And there you have it. There's the stitching effect right there. It looks pretty good. If we zoom in, you can see that the little jagged lines are put along the edge of the lettering just the way we wanted it. Go ahead and go back to full screen. And now we still have that line there, so we can get rid of it just by going and right-clicking with the pen tool again and delete path. That'll get rid of it, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. Now, one other thing I want to do here, I mean, we're getting close to being done already, but you'll notice that the black lettering is solid black. It's really dark. Doesn't look very natural. I want to make this look a little bit more natural, a little more realistic. So I'm just going to select the text layer, go over to fill, and take it down a notch. The fill, of course, adjusts how full the color is in it. I'm just going to take it down to 80% there, and you'll see in the lettering now the background texture is starting to shine through. That looks a lot better already, so I'm going to leave it right there. And the last thing I want to do is just some interesting little effect here. So I want to go to the background layer, which we have right here, which is just the denim background, and I'm going to create a different color. I'm going to create a neat little swoosh effect like that. Yeah, maybe not quite there. I want to kind of want to get it, oops, too many. I kind of want to get it right through the middle there. Something like that. That's good enough. Now I'm going to scroll down, or zoom out rather, because I need to connect the path here. Good. Now that I have the path connected here, I've got the bottom half selected. I'm just going to go down here and create this little half circle with half of it is a adjustment layer. I'm going to click on that. It's going to say, well, what kind do you want? And I'm going to say hue saturation, please. Then I'm going to adjust the hue up or down, and this is going to change the color of that selected area. And I can change it to anything I want, any kind of pattern or color that I want to. And you know, they all look kind of cool. The green looks pretty neat, but I'm going to go red because I think it'll create a nice contrast. And I'm actually going to crank that up pretty high. That's good. I want it to be a little bit bolder though, so I'm going to crank this up high. In fact, I'm going to go really overboard with it to show you how neat it looks. Yeah, like 60%. That's super red, but I'm going to change the lightness, take it down a notch to about -15 on the lightness. Yeah, that looks pretty cool actually, because it creates a nice contrast with that blue. Now, of course, I didn't have to do it as bright red as that. I could do it with much lighter red, a faded red. But one thing I think is really cool is since we adjusted the fill on this text layer here, you'll notice that the red is now shining through that. So both of them have a little bit of the background color and texture shining through. So I think that looks pretty good. And I'm going to say we're going to call that a day. We're going to call that done. Looks pretty cool. Alright, so that's it for this tutorial. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you enjoyed this tutorial and you'd like to see some other ones. Otherwise, you can head over to adobedesk.com where you'll get many more tutorials on all things Adobe, where you can learn Photoshop, learn any other Adobe product, which I'll be getting to those tutorials soon. And you can sign up to not only get tutorials, but you can also learn how to take these Adobe skills and do something with them either on your own projects or other people's projects. Make a little bit of money on the side, or hell, you can even change careers. So, thanks a lot for watching. See you next time.